This is just a short video to help you out if you're just getting into fingerpicking. It took me a long time to realize the connection between fingerpicking and flatpicking. It's kind of a spectrum. And if you think about flatpicking, hopefully you're kind of used to this boom chuck pattern where you're going. Well, basically that's what the thumb is doing when you fingerpick. And you don't have to use a thumb pick, but I will, at least for part of this video. So everything would be exactly the same, except instead of your whole hand having to hold the pick, now it's just your thumb. And that is the magic of it, because now our fingers are free to pluck melody notes. So I think that that separation of thumb and fingers is really the key. And you want to think of them as separate parts. Almost like there's two guitar players, one guitar player is going, and then the other guitar player is playing some melody on the top strings. Now, all of this is counted in 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. But we're in 2, or we're playing in cut time. So if you're tapping your foot, it's really important to tap your foot on 1 and 3, not on all 4 beats. If you're tapping your foot on all 4 beats, it's going to have more of a modern feel. You want it to have sort of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Tapping your foot on 1 and 3 is going to give it that old-timey feel. Now, if you're playing the bass notes and the strums with your thumb, then all 4 beats of a measure are accounted for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the reason why this is important is because if all 4 beats are covered by either a bass note or a strum, and then you're going to add a melody to that, well, then there's only a limited number of patterns that are going to result from the thumb and the fingers being combined. And what I mean by that is, one possibility would be that the melody note is happening at the same time as a bass note. So let's say this melody note here, I'm going to add my pinky to the 1st string 3rd fret. This melody note is happening on the 1st beat of this measure where I'm playing a C chord. Well, instead of playing just the bass note, I'm also going to play the melody note at the same time, and we're going to call that a pinch. And I'm only using my index finger for this video. We can worry about other fingers later, but you can play just about anything with just your thumb and your index finger. So, thumb is going to pluck the bass note on the 5th string. Index finger is going to pluck the melody note on the 1st string. So now instead of the measure being bass note, strum, or I was doing alternating bass. Now it's if I throw that note on the 1st beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. I'll leave my finger down so that the note rings out. Okay? So that's one of 3 possible patterns. A pinch, a bass note, and a melody note at the same time. Now, what if that melody note comes in on beat 2 when I'm strumming the chords? So the bass note's by itself, and then we get that. Well, the note is just added to the chord. So I'll lift it up so that it's not heard on beat 3. How's that? Okay? So that's possibility 2. Now notice I'm holding the whole chord and then using my pinky to add a new melody note. So a big part of fingerpicking becomes the contortions that you need to put your left hand through to hold down as many bass notes as possible and then add a melody note somewhere. And that's where all these sort of complicated shapes come from, and strange fingerings and things like that, because you're trying to maintain a bass and a chord, bass note and a chord, and then add a melody note. A lot of things can be done with the pinky while you hold the rest of the chord, but there are all kinds of other possibilities, obviously. All right, the third possible pattern is if a melody note falls in between the beats. So the bass and the strum are covering all 4 beats, but if the melody note comes, say, in between beats 1 and 2, is just played with the index finger brushing up. Let's see if I can put one in between every beat. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2. So this is more of a change in technique for the right hand, kind of like the pinch. And so where the pinch was the 2 notes happening at the same time, here it's a bass note strum. So there's a bass note and then a melody note, or a strum and then a melody note. Either way, your thumb is going down and then your index is coming up to play that note. So a really good song to start with, which you might be familiar with, is Freight Train by Elizabeth Cotten. If I just played let's go back to flatpick for a second and just show the connection. If I was backing somebody up, I mean, you wouldn't typically play this song with a flatpick, but let's say I was. I was backing up somebody who, for some reason, was playing the melody to Freight Train on a fiddle, okay? Then I might play something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. So that should sound like a fairly straightforward key of C, old-timey backup. I'm just going to swap out for the thumb pick and do everything exactly the same. Should sound pretty much the same. But now, mechanically, with my right hand, I'm only using my thumb. And I've got the rest of my fingers just kind of resting. Not pressing down, just kind of resting down here. My index finger's touching the first string. So this is what I think is probably most important, and this is what helped me to get a handle on fingerpicking. You want to get to where you can play that bass note strum part very, very, very solidly without adding the melody notes. Because even if you were watching what I've done so far in this video, some of it takes some coordination. It definitely takes just adding one note to the basic pattern, one melody note, suddenly requires you to do a lot more with both hands. You're having to keep track of where the melody note is with the left hand and keep track of when and where you're picking it with your right hand while you maintain that solid bass. So without question, the solid bass is the secret to really any fingerpicking. If it doesn't have that rock solid bass, then it's going to sound sloppy. But if it has a really solid bass, then it can be a very simple melody, and it's probably going to sound pretty good. So I will play Freight Train now, adding the melody notes, and I'll try and talk you through it after we play it one time. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a very, very sort of simplified, straightforward version of Freight Train. I'm trying to just limit it to the techniques that I've showed you so far. There is that kind of cool little walk down there. Otherwise, there's not a lot of added techniques besides the ones we've talked about. So I'm just going to go through real quick. It's a pinch, and a pinch, and a pinch, and a pinch. And all I've done there is stay on the C chord. I'm doing alternating bass. I put my pinky on the first string 3rd fret, lifted it up, put my pinky on the 2nd string 3rd fret, lifted it up so that that 1st fret note from the C chord is still there. Went to a G chord, pinched 5th string, 2nd string, open. Now here's our first staggered note. It's the 6th string, then the 1st string. Melody note is falling in between beats 3 and 4. 3 and 4. Then a pinch on a G7 chord. And then another staggered, isolated 8th note. So pinch, strum, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Goes back to G. All pinching, walking down. So that was pinky on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. First finger on the 1st fret of the 1st string, open, and then pinky on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. With the thumb, I'm just doing 6th string, strum, and a G chord. And a really important thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that sometimes it'll sound strange if you slow things down and play the chord in the melody note. This one in particular sounds fine. We'll get to a weirder one in a minute. That's not going to matter in the flow of the music. So you can tack all kinds of melody notes on top of these chords, and in the flow of the music, something that might sound strange in isolation is going to sound just fine. So now we go back to the C chord. We do a pinch on the 5th string, the 2nd string. Strum, staggered. So that's the 6th string, 3rd fret, and the 1st string, 3rd fret. And then pinch, 5th string, open, 1st string. And now you do this walk down 3rd, 2nd, 1st fret on the 6th string with your 3rd, 2nd, 1st finger. Okay, now we go to the E chord, pinch the outside 2 strings, strum. Now here's a weird one. You reach over with your index finger, play the 1st fret, 1st string. So that's going to sound very strange by itself. But it sounds just fine in context. This is an E7 chord. My pinky's on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. I'm going to this 4-string F chord. Okay, and putting my pinky down on the 2nd string, 3rd fret off and on. When I usually play this, I hook my thumb over and I use the bass note down there. So if you're used to doing that, you want to try that, you can replace the bass note on the 4th string, 3rd fret with 6th string, 1st fret for just beat 1. So it's going to, the bass line will go from to, becomes an alternating bass. And now the last line of the song, go back to a C chord, pinch, all pinches, and then there's a little walk up to go back and repeat the song. see what you can do with that. I would practice it with just the bass part, and then slowly add the melody note part. And like I said, those three patterns, a pinch, a melody note added to a chord, and an isolated melody note, are a big part of the style, right? Because there's only so many possibilities. Now, there's other techniques you can add, obviously, but this should give you a really good foundation. So give it a shot, and I hope it works out for you. And thanks for watching.